here at Psycho Turtle for round number 3 of our Gym Challenge, Premier Challenge. First of 2 on this big sporting event weekend. I'm Dennis Geisler, with me, Fue Coco. Again, we're about to get into round number 3. I actually don't remember if I said that before. Both these players here at 1-1. Bit of a witching hour, I guess. Just keep pulling out the random football things. We have Vivianna, Briano, and Ramon, Carranza. Vivianna is bringing an interesting team. Excuse me, something caught in my throat. Got the Infernape, the Lapras, Heatran, Hisuian Gudra, Galarian Slowking, and Regice. While Ramon has Heatran, Porygon 2, Rillaboom, Fluttermane, Landorus Therian, and that Araquanid. A lot of stuff you do not see a lot of as of late or at all. The Araquanid was an exciting addition. Well, to bury the lead here, the Araquanid is an interesting addition lately. It's got Terra Water now as a possibility, so Terra Water, Water Bubble, Mystic Water, Liquidation is just some of the best damage you're gonna get. But to look on the other side, you have the Galarian Slowking with the Regenerator and the Mental Herb to set up Chilly Reception, to set up the Snow for Regice. That Clear Body, Life Orb, it's Terra Electric. It has Blizzard, Gravity, Focus Blast, and Zap Cannon. And the Lapras as well, with Water Absorb and Throat Spray with Sing, Life Dew, Freeze Dry, and Muddy Water. Not to mention that Infernape in there. Focus Sash, bit of a mixed attacker there. Gonna get into this battle. Porygon 2 and Landorus Therian is what comes out first for Ramon. Vivianna with the Galarian Slowking and the Infernape. This Infernape is Blaze, Terra Ghost with Fake Out, Shadow Claw, Close Combat, and Overheat. So a lot of flexibility in what it's able to do here. Does have that one big damage button in the Overheat, as well as the Fake Out to potentially provide some pressure early on. Could get the Fake Out just to get the Chilly Reception off. Again, that's the only way that this team can actually set up Snow. This Heatran is Terra Ice as well, and it does have Terra Blast on Vivianna's team, so there's a lot going on with this team. I'm fascinated to see how it plays out. I'm going to see the Thunderbolt into the Galarian Slowking. Not going to do much of anything. Slowking is actually just going to go for the Acid Spray up against the Porygon 2, which will drop its special defense harshly. Will now take double damage from an Overheat if that is the option. Team also has the opportunity to set up Trick Room. Oh, I like Infernape. I haven't seen Infernape in a while. It's just something where I have not seen that guy in VGC at all for quite a while. And now we will see Landorus U-turn out into the Infernape, going to get on out of there, cycle the attack drop. Does have the -1 attack onto the Infernape, so that big Overheat is going to probably be some of the last of its big damage. We're going to see Araquanid come in. This is a pretty slow Araquanid, all things considered, so a Trick Room could actually help it quite a bit. The Overheat, it's going to crit as well. Going to absolutely tear apart that Porygon too. And that'll be the end of that Pokemon, but Trick Room gets up. Slowking will now be the fastest thing on the field, but the next fastest, even against a lot of switch-ins, should be that Araquanid. And that will be pretty difficult for Vivianna to play against. The Araquanid is very slow. The Lapras does have Water Absorb, which means it will be able to eat those big liquidations. Araquanid is able to swap moves, but it does mean that you have potentially a read check here. Infernape's going to switch out, reset all of its everything. Lapras will come in. Going to try to eat a liquidation. Slowking is preparing to tell a chillingly bad joke. Going to pop out with a Chilly Reception. Oh, I like that move so much. Slowking will swap out, get the Snow down. and bring in, we'll see what the choice is here. It could be Regice or it could be Infernape. It'll be Regice, so Ramon will get to see all 4 Pokemon here for Vivianna, although Vivianna has now seen all 4 of Ramon's Pokemon as well. It was a liquidation into what is now the Lapras slot. Going to be blocked. Earth Power going to come through onto Regice. That does absolutely no damage. This Heatran is Safety Goggles. Potentially a little bit lower damage, but still, that was a bulky Regice, and that's even on the less bulky side, not in the snow-boosted defense, although Regice's special defense is legendarily one of the best in all of the Pokemon world. What is Ramon going to try to do about this? We'll see the Terastal here. It's going to be Terra onto the Heatran. That's Terra Fairy. Nothing hits Terra Fairy all that well, but Regice does just kind of launch out damage. Araquanid will substitute. It is the fastest thing on the field here, most notably. Regice will use Gravity. That will improve the accuracy of its Focus Blast and Zap Cannon. And that Lapras Sing, which is going to make that Heatran fall asleep and its eyes turn off. It's so cute. Yeah, that does now mean... Ooh, and with the Throat Spray on the Sing, it does boost the special attack. This is a fascinating flowcharty team here from Vivianna. I'm curious to see, 1, if Vivianna's able to finish out this game number 1, and 2, how this plays out in game number 2, or how this first game, game number 1, finishes out, and how game number 2 will play out with Ramon knowing the, I guess, sort of flowchart here. Although it was so well played in the early game, regardless, I wonder if that... I'm fascinated. I'm absolutely fascinated. Leech Life comes out. That'll do basically nothing to Lapras, but it will heal up at Araquanid just a teensy bit behind that substitute. Yeah, and that Araquanid is the fastest thing on the field. We'll see the Blizzard here. Will it be able to break the Araquanid substitute? It will not. The Lapras Sing goes into the substitute and will then make that Araquanid fall asleep. So both of Ramon's Pokemon are asleep right now. Heatran takes its second sleep turn, I believe. And yeah, this is an interesting spot to be in for both of these players. Very just overall such a bizarre matchup. Try to read out. Araquanid will take its required sleep turn. Blizzard comes through, does some good damage to Heatran. That one should break the substitute, I'd imagine. Indeed, it does. There is the sleepy Araquanid. And the Lapras Muddy Water comes out and does not finish off the Heatran. This team is a little low on damage, even despite everything. The accuracy drops on both, so both will now have a lower accuracy. Heatran, third sleep turn. Should wake up either next turn or the turn after. See what the decision is here, as this Heatran might be able to move immediately. I believe Trick Room just wore off. I might be totally mistaken, but I believe that was the last turn of Trick Room, and this should be the last turn of Snow. Heatran does wake up, gets the Heat Wave off. See what damage does. Not going to be enough to knock out. The Muddy Water will finish off the Heatran. Little bit more damage to the Araquanid. There it goes. That on Heatran. Gonna be out of there. We'll see. I believe this is the Zap Cannon out of Regice. What this does to the Araquanid, it does pick up the knockout. That's 3 KOs now for Vivianna onto Ramon's team. We'll see what that last Pokemon is. It was the Landorus we saw earlier. That Landorus Therian has Choice Scarf, Stomping Tantrum, U-Turn, Rock Slide, Terra Blast, Terra Flying. But I don't think it's going to be able to get through this turn because it's going to need to... Excuse me, it's going to need to take a hit from one of these 2 ice types, which it will not be capable of doing. Gravity is still in play, so could go for the sleep instead, although I think any ice move would finish off the Landorus here and end this one. We'll see the Landorus Rock Slide. Going to finish off the Regice. Do some good damage to the Lapras as well. And the Lapras Sing will connect. Not sure exactly what the number is with Gravity, what the likelihood looks like. But there's the Sleepy Landorus. Gravity does return to normal, back to standard speed tiers, but I don't think that Landorus is going to get much of a chance here. I think that Freeze Dry is just going to finish it off. The Slowking also in here to potentially layer on some extra damage with the Acid Spray, make it even weaker, or go for the Trick Room. I don't know. I think this Freeze Dry is just going to do it here. There is the guaranteed Sleep Turn. There's the Freeze Dry, quad effective. And there goes Landorus. Game number 1 goes to Vivianna with this very, very interesting team. As I mentioned before, I'm curious to see where this goes in game number 2. Game number 1 went really well, leading with the Galarian Slowking and the Infernape, trying to get rid of the Porygon 2 immediately with the Acid Spray, Overheat, and then getting the Trick Room up. And that certainly worked really well for Vivianna, and at that point, there wasn't a whole lot of damage remaining, particularly when it was in Trick Room, because Landorus absolutely could not leave when it was not in Trick Room. But there are just so many very specific setup moves, I'd say, on Vivianna's team, and I'm curious to see if that translates to another game here. I'm I'm learning so much about the game, like, just watching this, because there are so many, like, little interactions in this one. Vivianna's team, the Hisuian Goodra has Tearful Look, is, I'll be honest, not a move I think I've ever seen used. Lowers the target's attack and special attack stats. And yeah, this is... I'm just fascinated by this team. I'm just absolutely in awe of it. Only a small handful of Pokemon are able to pack this move here. Hisuian Goodra is one of them. There's so few Pokemon with it. I'm fascinated. I'm absolutely fascinated by this team. We're probably not even going to see the Hisuian Goodra here. Will be the Landorus Fluttermane this time, so a lot more aggressive of a lead. Infernape has to be in a little bit of danger immediately of just getting kind of lit up. This is booster speed Fluttermane. Shouldn't matter all that much, it'll be faster regardless. But it is booster speed Fluttermane, and it's going to, if it wants to launch out a Dazzling Gleam, it'll hit pretty hard. Despite being a Galarian Slowking, its only attack is, it only has Snarl and Acid Spray. Does less damage on the Infernape than I expected. Landorus will flinch once again. Slowking gets up the Trick Room immediately. And this now means that Vivianna's Infernape is actually going to be one of the faster things here. Just going straight up into the Trick Room. I really like how Galarian Slowking looks. Just a funny looking guy. See what the choice is here. It should, an Acid Spray plus an Overheat, should just be able to launch into anything. Landorus is going to switch out, as we saw in game number 1. Heatran will come in. Would be able to take a Overheat with that Flash Fire if that's a choice, but Acid Spray goes into the Fluttermane. That might mean the Fluttermane is not long for this world. The world of game number 2, where Fluttermane gets taken down with the Overheat. Infernape once again getting it done. And again, the first knockout goes to Vivianna. Porygon 2 will come in now again. Remember, last battle, Porygon 2, it does get the attack rise, which is not exactly what it's looking for, particularly without the Terra Blast. In the last battle, Porygon 2 got knocked out almost immediately. Probably won't be able to get that instant knockout this time. We'll see the Acid Spray go onto the Porygon 2 once again. Both Thunderbolt into the Galarian Slowking spot, potentially predicting a Chilly Reception. out into the Lapras, potentially. But regardless, Infernape gets hit by the Earth Power, going to drop the fastest thing against this very slow board now. And Regice will come in here. The choice here is from the Regice. Not in a ton of danger of getting hit really hard right now. Will take some damage from Heat Wave or Flash Cannon, but not all that much. Does have the opportunity. It's going to be the Snarl from Galarian Slowking, so that'll reduce the damage from both these Pokemon even further. Regice is going to use Gravity, boost the accuracy of these moves once again. Porygon 2 will get the Thunderbolt off. That'll do nothing to Regice. Not going to pick up the Para. Heat Wave, just a bit of damage. Going to crit the Slowking. Not going to burn either. And now, an opportunity to launch off some Focus Blasts. We'll see what the choice is of target. I didn't actually see what was locked in there. Porygon 2 is going to swap out here. Going to be the Landorus coming back in. Yes, it will. Doesn't do anything with that Intimidate attack drop, especially since Regice's Clear Body won't allow it to be dropped regardless. Slowking gonna Snarl once again. There's a bit of chip to the Landorus. And we'll see. This Focus Blast does target the Heatran, and that will not pick up the KO. It does some good damage, but not going to knock out that Heatran. The Flash Cannon comes out in return. Going to be good damage. Actually, way less good damage than I thought it would be. Trick Room is now over. That was the last turn of Trick Room. And Landorus now in a good spot to pick up at least one knockout here. I think that Rock Slide should be able to do it, and without the Trick Room, it's going to be difficult for Vivianna to operate here. We'll see the Rock Slide. We'll finish off the Regice. Slowking will take just a little bit more to finish off, but that should be easily coming with the Heatran unless it misses, and it doesn't miss. 2 knockouts that turn for Ramon, and should get this game settled and send us to game number 3. Lapras will take quite a bit of damage here. Should be able to knock out the Heatran and do quite a bit of damage to, to the Landorus with the Muddy Water. Not sure whether the Lapras, I do know whether the Lapras is faster than the Heatran. It's not, it's slower than the Heatran. So it will have to take 2 hits before this. Landorus is going to switch out. Be a little dangerous. Porygon 2 will come in. Does have that Thunderbolt, not a bad decision. But a Muddy Water could drop its accuracy, which could really jeopardize the whole operation here. See if that accuracy drop comes to pass. It is Muddy Water. And hold for damage. Not going to do much at all to Porygon 2. Not going to get the accuracy drop. Gravity still has one more turn. But Porygon 2 might be slower than Lapras. I think Porygon 2 is slower than Lapras. But it's going to be tough for this Lapras to get out of there on its own. It's going to be Landorus switching back in now. Take a big hit from a Muddy Water if that's the decision. We'll get an Intimidate, but that's not going to do much of anything here. Thunderbolt, big damage. Not actually that big of damage. Just a little chunk to Lapras, and this Muddy Water, again, not going to knock out the Landorus. Will drop the accuracy on the Porygon 2. That is an out. Gravity's back to normal, so that accuracy drop is even more meaningful. This might be the go button for this Lapras to try to win it. This Lapras doesn't have a lot of outs here, but that accuracy drop was certainly going to be significant. We'll see the Terastal here. It is the Lapras Terra Grass. So it will now resist that Thunderbolt. See what the choice is out of Landorus Therian, but it might take that hit as well. It's going to be Rock Slide. Just a touch of damage. Porygon 2's Thunderbolt misses. There's the accuracy drop we were talking about. The Muddy Water going to land on the Landorus, finishes it off. Another hit on the Porygon 2. Don't believe it's going to drop the accuracy there, but damage may already have been done. Porygon 2 will have to land an Ice Beam to win this one. Heat Rain is coming back in. It does have the Heat Wave, which is super effective here, but again, that's a move without 100% accuracy. Lapras could still win this one on some accuracy pulls. Heat Wave does land, and it does knock out the Lapras. We will head to game number 3. The Lapras made it a fun one, but we are going to go to a third game. And that was some really narrow margins near the end. That Heat Wave missing would have been pretty significant, and potentially would have put up a situation where Porygon 2 had hit an Ice Beam. Especially with that Muddy Water would finish it off. There were certainly good moments in that battle for both these players. I think the big thing is that Ramon kept Porygon 2 standing, and even though Ramon lost Flutter Mane turn 1, or excuse me, on turn 2, the Trick Room ultimately did not end up lasting long enough to give Vivianna a big advantage. I would call it instead a small advantage for a couple of turns, but this team is still a little too slow to operate without Trick Room against a team like this with, for example, a Landorus Therian, as well as a Heatran that's invested decently in speed. But also, you have to make sure the Porygon 2's out of the way early, because that thing is pretty slow and is going to underspeed in Trick Room. So in any case, game number 3. See if Vivianna decides to switch anything up. I feel my worry about that team is that it's a little too linear, and that you're kind of forced into the same lead every time. It's a fairly flexible lead. I'll give it credit for that, but I'm worried that there is a little bit too much that you're asking those two Pokemon to do in the first couple of turns in order to set up the entire rest of the battle for you. But we'll see. Game number 3. This one, all these players at 1-1, looking to keep their tournament hopes alive, all things considered. Unlikely to get through on 2-2. Not super unlikely, but reasonably unlikely. It's going to be the same lead for Vivianna and the same lead for Ramon. Same leads as game number 2. Last time it was a fake out into an instant Trick Room for Vivianna, and the Flutter Mane did a Dazzling Gleam that just simply did not do all that much damage to Infernape. Did enough to scare it a little bit, but not enough to force it out, or obviously wouldn't have been able to pick up a knockout. It's just the one move. That Infernape fake out, still there is pressure against Landorus for the 3rd game in a row. Will happen one more time. Landorus will eat that. Dazzling Gleam comes out again. It's going to be a little bit less damage than last time. Landorus flinches, and it will be Galarian Slowking going for that Trick Room. And if we're going from the last battle again, it was an Acid Spray and a Overheat into the Flutter Mane. We'll see if they go for that again, if Ramon decides to switch out the Flutter Mane this time, if Ramon decides to leave in the Landorus. It's going to be switching out the Landorus again. Will it be the Heatran coming in once again? It is indeed the Heatran once again, which could mean danger. It's going to be the Flutter Mane protecting this time. So, going to keep that alive. Acid Spray does not connect into the Heatran. We'll see. It was the Overheat into the Heatran. It's going to take it with the Flash Fire. Going to get that nice boost for its Fire-type moves. And this is going to be a tough, tough spot for Vivianna to be in now. I like the play to try to get out of this with an early knockout onto the Landorus, but I think that Ramon cleverly got the Landorus out of there, and I would have probably preferred to see a close combat into that Heatran slot if that was going to be the pick. It's going to be Porygon 2 coming in now. Porygon 2 could get kind of lit up on this turn. Doesn't get the attack boost, not the spec attack boost. Will be hit by the Acid Spray. probably the overheat after this, although Heatran might move first. It does indeed move first. Uses the Earth Power. It's going to finish off the Infernape. Vivianna's team just off schedule now, and this could be tough to come back in this one. Regice going to come in here. It does have high special defense, but that's basically all it has against this Heatran, which, remember, does more damage with its Fire-type moves. So it'll be able to hit this Regice pretty hard with a Heat Wave, even though it's got all that special defense. Could go for the Terastal here in order to try to reduce some of that damage, although it does make it weak to Earth Power if that decides to... If Ramon decides to swap over to that with the read that the Heat Wave is not going to do enough damage. It's going to be Porygon 2 switching out. A little too weak to Focus Blast now for its liking. Fluttermane comes back in. We'll see the Terastal here. I believe that is the Terra Electric Regice. The parallel to Terra Ice Regieleki, the Terra Electric Regice. Much less fast, but still has some nice traits. You're going to see the Terra on the other side from Ramon as well. Has to be that Terra Fairy Heatran. Does not have the Terra Blast, so I'm just doing this for defense here. We'll make it strong against Focus Blast instead of weak. Slowking will go for the quick Chilly Reception to boost up the snow and get it out of there. We are now under Snow and under Trick Room, and Slowking is going to be able to switch back in later. We do now have Lapras and Regice on the field, and Regice will get that gravity off. Heatran does go for the Heat Wave. Going to do some okay damage against both these Pokemon. No burns. Good damage for a neutral hit on both. But still, now you have to be worried about this Regice-Lapras duo. Kind of getting it done. Kind of getting work done. Heatran's going to protect. Fluttermane, okay, we'll get the double protect to stall out Trick Room. And that means that not a whole lot can happen this turn for Vivianna. Another issue with Vivianna's team is everything gets put on a timer pretty quickly. The Trick Room is on a timer, the Snow's on a timer, the Gravity's on a timer. A lot of the stuff that makes this team work is on a wild timer here. And that does mean Trick Room will be stalled out, so Ramon back with the speed advantage here. What will the choice be for Vivianna? Try to make it out of this one. From Ramon, options are pretty simple. You can go for another Heat Wave. You can try to go for an Earth Power to finish off this Regice. See the Shadow Ball into the Regice. I'm going to do some okay damage, but an Earth Power should finish it off? No, not going to be enough. Just barely not enough. The Sing lands onto the Fluttermane. We'll see what the Regice is going to be able to do to try to get out of this one. Does get the Throat Spray up now for the Lapras. And it is the Zap Cannon. Boosted Zap Cannon. Terra and the critical hit, and it's not going to be able to do it. Does get the Paralyze, though, and that means it'll be able to outspeed, which now means the Regice... Oh, but the Life Orb is going to finish off the Regice this turn. And there goes Regice from the Life Orb recoil damage. So it does just mean that it's going to be Galarian, Slowking, and Lapras to try to get out of the rest of this one. And that's all 4 Pokemon to deal with for just these 2. Nice photobombing, Fluttermane. 2 turns of Gravity left, I believe 1 turn of Snow. Only the Muddy Water... There are 4 attacking moves remaining for Vivianna. There's Muddy Water, there's Freeze Dry, there's Acid Spray, and there's Snarl. Not the greatest moves in the world. We'll finish off the Heatran while that Fluttermane is asleep. This could depend on Fluttermane's sleep turns. It just take its first guaranteed one. Will eat an Acid Spray. Should do some okay damage. honestly pretty bad. That pretty bad damage, I won't lie. What will he switch in be? It's going to be Landorus here. Nice enough choice. Going to try to do whatever damage it can right now. One turn of gravity remaining. I suppose it's one turn of snow remaining as well, I believe. We'll see what the choice is. It's a difficult scenario. It's going to be Flutter Mane switching out. So it's not going to be advancing its sleep turns at all when it comes back in. Porygon 2 again with that attack boost. Never a special attack boost. Rock Slide. Okay damage. It's locked into Rock Slide now. Does not flinch. Muddy Water not going to finish off the Landorus. Trick Room gets up. And now an opportunity. The snow is now down, but an opportunity here for Vivianna to potentially launch out a Snarl to finish off the Landorus and weaken that Porygon 2 quite a bit. Remember, the Trastal has already been used from both sides on Pokemon that are no longer on the board here. 4 turns of Trick Room now for Ramon to try to get through. Well, the Porygon 2 will outspeed the Lapras under Trick Room. That is the only benefit that is there, and the Life Dew could be a huge boost here. Weird tech issues, but seems to be fine overall. Snarl finishing off the Landorus Therian. Going to crit the Porygon 2 as well, but that's not going to do much of anything. Special attack drop out of the Porygon 2. Freeze Dry is the choice out of the Lapras. Going to do another critical hit. Not much damage at all. Thunderbolt does come out. It will not finish off the Lapras. The Lapras is slower under Trick Room than the Porygon 2. Or rather faster under Trick Room. You get where I'm going with that. So Life Dew is an option here. Try to keep that Lapras standing. 3 turns of Trick Room remaining. Another Snarl will significantly weaken the opponents to the point where I don't know if Slowking can be taken down before it's going to be able to get enough of its Snarls off to pick up these knockouts. I think that's hyperbole. I think that the Shadow Ball should be able to finish it off. But there is another Spec Attack drop on the Porygon 2, a Spec Attack drop onto the Flutter Mane. Lapras goes for the Freeze Dry onto the Porygon 2. Not going to finish it off. And it gets the freeze. The freeze against the Porygon 2. Another huge moment. And the Flutter Mane takes its second sleep turn. It could have woken up there. It did not. And now 2 totally helpless Pokemon on Ramon's side for Vivianna to continue trying to chip down. The Acid Spray onto the Flutter Mane. Going to drop that special defense. The Freeze Dry to finish it off. Will indeed do it. The Porygon 2, the only one remaining. Can it break out of its freeze this turn? No, it cannot. And that is most likely going to be it between these two targets. The Snarl weakens the Porygon 2 just a little bit more, and the Freeze Dry to finish it off. Vivianna with the Chaos House team. Absolute insanity. What a fantastic series between the two of them. A lot of resilience shown by Vivianna and that team. A lot went wrong in that game number 3. Heatran got the Flash Fire boost up. The Lapras came in at kind of a bad time. The Regice struggled quite a bit against that Heatran, but at the end of the day, Vivianna was able to come out of that one with the victory. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with round number 4, the final round of Swiss. You don't want to miss it. Don't go anywhere.